Welcome and hello. This is a video exercise in PySWMM titled Calibrating Hydraulic Conductivity in an Aquifer using Recursion. In this exercise, we'll use PySWMM and observed data to determine the saturated hydraulic conductivity of a groundwater aquifer. Right here on the screen is the EPA SWIM user interface. Let's get started. I'm going to start with a rain gauge, put it right there. And then also add a subcatchment. So do some single length clicks and then right click S1. And then my subcatchment needs an outlet, which will be my outfall O1. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and define our rainfall event. So for RG1, I'm going to go right click properties. And then for the rainfall data I'm going to be using, it's in a file, which I have on the screen right here. I have incremental rainfall depth every 30 minutes. So what we're looking at here is a couple storm events. The first storm event happens right here. This is on November 22nd in the year 2030. And then a few days later, we have a second storm event, which I'm just going to keep in the same file here, occurring on November 25th in the morning time. Right, so this is the file. It's called rg1-precip.dat, which I should be able to navigate here in, boom, there it is. Loaded that file up. A couple other changes I need to make here is the rain format is actually going to be in volume because this is incremental depth rainfall intensity. The time interval, I need to switch that to 30 minutes. And then the data source is going to be not time series, but file. And then the station ID is RG1 and the rain units is in inches. So the flow units for this model is going to be in CFS, which dictates that we're going to be using inches for lengths and just the US customary unit system for most of all of our parameters here. Okay, let's close that up. Next, it's time to define my aquifer. So to do that, I'm going to head over to aquifers. This is under hydrology in the project tab or the project browser, I call it. So click on aquifer, click on the green plus button. Let's go ahead and define our properties here, starting with an aquifer name. I'm going to call it S1. And then after that, I'm going to be using a lot of the default values, and some of these values will be overwritten when we set the groundwater properties in our subcatchment anyway. So porosity of 0.5, that's fine. Wilting point, field capacity, I'm just going to leave those values as they are. For hydraulic conductivity, I'm just going to set this to 1. That's in units of inches per hour. This right here is the value we're going to determine. This is what we're trying to solve for because I have some groundwater elevation observed data, which we're going to compare model results to. So for now, I'm just going to set this to 1, but we'll be returning to this a little bit later. Conductivity slope, tension slope, that's fine. The evaporation values, I'm going to just set that all to 0, as well as the lower groundwater loss rate. Bottom elevation and some of these other parameters I'm going to be setting within the subcatchment groundwater properties. So I'm just going to leave those there and click on OK. All right, so we have our aquifer. I'm going to double check that my invert outfall O1 is 0. In fact, that's good. I'm going to make a second outfall as well. So it can be the target for my groundwater runoff in case I want to keep track of that. O1 will be the outfall for the subcatchment, which will be for the overland flow runoff. And then O2 will be for groundwater. All right, let's get to the S1 subcatchment 1 properties. So here is that property box. Let's go ahead and set the rain gauge. That's going to be RG1. The outlet, that's going to be O1, outfall O1. The area, I'll set that to 45 acres. The characteristic width, I'll set that to 800 feet. Percent impervious, which is right here, I'll set that to 10%. And one more change I want to make is change the pervious depression storage, which is dstore perv right down here to 0.20. All right, a little further down, we should have some infiltration data right here. Currently set to Horton. I'm going to make some edits here. I'm going to change the infiltration to modified green amp, set the section head to 3.5, 0.5, and 0.25. Okay, yeah, so these are the numbers I want to use. And okay. And then for groundwater, click on the ellipse button. We're going to define some of our groundwater properties for subcatchment S1, starting with the aquifer. Select the only aquifer we have defined, S1-aquifer. The receiving node, this is going to be O2, in case we want to keep track of that. And then the surface elevation, I'm going to set that to 50 feet. For these coefficients, these are typically the values that you'd be calibrating. I'm going to assume I already know these values and then search for the hydraulic conductivity of the aquifer. So for A1, I'm going to use 0.5, and then for B1, the B1 exponent, I'm going to set that to 2. Then all the other coefficients and exponents I'm going to leave at 0. Further down, we have the surface water depth. I'll set that to 0. Threshold water table elevation, I'm going to set it to 30. For bottom elevation, 0. Initial water table elevation, 30. Unsaturated zone moisture content will be 30%, so 0.30, because it's looking for a fraction or a decimal. I'm not going to be using any custom equations, so what we have here for the groundwater looks good. We'll click on OK. We need to set some simulation options, and then we can run it, and then after that, we'll head over to write some Python code. So in the project tab up here, I'm going to click on options, and then we'll click on dates. Now the date here needs to be consistent with the dates that we set for our storm event. So we're going to be starting this in November 2030, specifically November 22nd. So give me a moment while I type in those numbers. All right, I finished that up. We have November 22nd through November 29th, so the beginning of November 30th. So we have 8 days of simulation here. Remember, the rainfall event occurs on day 1 and day 4. Also, over here in the time, I'm starting this at 4 p.m. or 1600 hours into the day, just because that's when the first storm starts as well. So that's good and ready to go. And then click on the time step tab. Off camera, already went ahead and made the changes I wanted to. So what I'm using for reporting step is 15 minutes. And then for runoff step, both dry weather and wet weather, it's going to be 7 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and click on OK. Save the simulation and then run it. So save, and then to run it, go up to the project menu, click on Run Simulation. Okay, that ran successfully. Click on OK. Let's check out our results now for the groundwater elevation and subcatchment S1, both the model calculation values as well as have some calibration values to add as well. So with S1 selected, I'm going to click on the time series plot. S1 runoff close. I'm going to click on edit. I want S1, but rather groundwater elevation. So GW 11, accept, and OK. All right, so here's our plot showing 8 days worth of groundwater elevation. It starts at 30 feet. It rises up to about 30.5 feet, back down to about 30.1, back up to about 30.45 or something, and then down again. So you can see the two different rainfall events show distinct peaks in the groundwater elevation. That's good. I'm going to just modify this plot a little bit. So the total time doesn't need to go past 8. We can add some more vertical, horizontal grid lines. So for axis, 8 is fine. And then on the left axis, let's go with 0.1. Okay. Next, I'm going to be loading up my calibration data. I'll show you what that looks like in text form first. So here is the calibration data. What we have is 4 hours into the simulation, we had an observed groundwater elevation of 30.444. So 4 hours after starting at 1600 hours would actually be 20 or 8 p.m. on the first day. So 4 hours, let's see. Let's go ahead and open up the table data. So 1 second. Open up object for subcatchment, and I want to look at groundwater elevation, which is right here, S1. Okay. So this will have one row of groundwater elevation every 15 minutes because that's our reporting time step. And if I scroll down to say 4 hours, which is, oops, a little too far, boom, right here, 30.223. If I compare that with the calibration data of 30.444, you can see we're off a little bit here. In fact, you'll notice that we are off for almost all of these data points a little bit because 1 inch per hour was not the correct hydraulic conductivity. And that's fine. That was just our initial guess. So to load up the calibration data on this plot right here, come up to project, calibration data. Then there should be a row here for groundwater elevation. Go ahead and click on that, and then click on the Add button. Navigate to subcatchment S1, wherever your groundwater elevation calibration data is, which is this file right here. Then click on OK. I'm not seeing any data points yet, but I think we just need to rerun the simulation. And boom, now we do see a number of data points, but we can tell that we're off on a number of those data points as well. specifically this third point, and then this, what is this, a sixth point from left to right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, some of them are pretty close, but these two in particular look fairly far off. Let's go ahead and address those. And this is where we're going to find our hydraulic conductivity using PySWM and some Python coding. Head over to my Visual Studio. This is my environment for writing coding. I've already installed PySWM. That was in PySWM lesson 1. This is my project directory, project. Here's the project.inp file. I'm going to create a separate .py file for me to paste in my script. So add from file, script.py, and then I'm going to paste in the code I have prepared here and then explain it, and then we'll run it and take a look at some results. So what I'm doing is importing a number of the classes required to run the simulation, create a simulation pre-configuration object, and look at the results. I also need a date time because I'm going to set one specific date time of interest. It happens to be this one right here, which is day 1 at 1:30. So even though we have a number of data points right here, what I chose to do is pick on this one data point right here, which is the third data point, which happens to be, let's see, this one right here, day 1 after 1:30. And then the observed data is 30.209 is feet of the groundwater elevation at that particular time. Now, this is the time with regard to the start of the simulation. So if the simulation begins at 4 p.m. on November 22, then this particular time is 1 day, 1 hour, and 30 minutes after, which means it's on November 23 at 5:30 p.m. And then I'm going to be using 30.20. So 30.209 right here is my observed groundwater elevation. And then what I said is 5:30 p.m. For some reason, it wanted 5:29 in 59 seconds. So that's what I gave it just through some trial and error. I can't explain why it's doing that, but I think being off 1 second isn't going to make a huge difference. Okay. After that, I've got a function here to find the groundwater elevation and another function right here to find the hydraulic conductivity. And I'm calling that find hydraulic conductivity function here at the very bottom. So let me go ahead and explain this kind of in reverse order. What I'm doing is finding the hydraulic conductivity, and I'm passing it the groundwater elevation observed. That's that 30.20, 30.209, the number right there. And then dt is the specified date time, and then trial number is just going to be incrementing 1, 2, 3, 4, so I can keep track of which trial number I'm on. And I also have a condition here to quit if I have 100 trials and haven't yet converged. So that's the main that function I'm calling. That's the only function. Find K SOT. This is to find the hydraulic conductivity. This function, as you may notice, calls itself if convergence hasn't occurred. What I'm doing is calculating the hydraulic conductivity to use in the current trial, which is going to be the halfway point or the average between the minimum value and the maximum value. As you can see, I'm initializing my min and max between 0 and 10. So I'm assuming that the hydraulic conductivity is between 0 and 10 inches per hour. I think that's a safe assumption. We tried 1 inch per hour and we're a little bit off, but probably a little bit on the low side, just judging from that graph. After that, I'm getting the groundwater elevation based on that hydraulic conductivity. I'm calculating the error. And if that error is less than 0.0001, then I'm going to return that value with the solution. Or if I have too many trials, more than 100 trials, and we haven't found a solution with a sufficiently low error. If the error is too high, then what we're going to be doing is calling the same function again after updating either the ASAT max or ASAT min based on whether or not our calculated groundwater elevation is above or below that observed value. All right, so the only thing else here to explain is, well, we're printing out some of the data, and then the find GW elevation right here. That is that other function, which is right up here. I'm passing it the hydraulic conductivity. For that, we're going to be loading in that hydraulic conductivity into the Aquifer section of our project.inp file, specifically for our S1-Aquifer. This 4 right here, it refers to the parameter index within aquifers, which is the saturated hydraulic conductivity. So if I wanted to bring up that file, let's see, project.inp, got it on the screen. And I need to scroll down here to Aquifer section, which, one second, there it is. So here's aquifers. And then the different index values or the parameter values is the name, porosity, wilting point, field capacity, and KSAT. So 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4 should be a number 1. Let me just check 1, 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this 1 right here is what we're going to be updating with first the number 5, and then the next number would be 2.5 or 7.5, and then so on. We're sort of doing a binary search recursively to determine which hydraulic conductivity is going to give us a resulting S1 groundwater elevation close to the observed data for that particular time. Okay, so we run the simulation using our simulation pre-config object, which has our updated saturated hydraulic conductivity. And then I'm getting the value right here. This is S1 underscore GW elevation. I'm calling the groundwater table elevation attribute from data, which is right here for subcatchment S1 at that particular date time. Right, so that's what's happening. I think we're ready to run, so I'm going to save that. Come over here to my terminal window. Just go ahead and see what files I have. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I have script.py. It's there. And then Python script.py, enter. So it's running through a number of the iterations. It looks like it took 10 trials, and the final hydraulic conductivity is 2.646. That's in units of inches per hour. The error is 5e negative 5, and the groundwater elevation is 30.20895, and that's in units of feet. So this right here is basically the same value for the third data point, which may be the only data point we need to actually use for calibration. I assume if one data point is on or close, the others will be close as well. So let's go ahead and check that. I'm going to just take this number right here and do a right click to copy it to my clipboard, then head back over to my user interface. And now I'm going to update the hydraulic conductivity manually within the user interface. So to do that, I'll click on aquifers, click on the edit pencil. And then for hydraulic conductivity, instead of 1, I'll just paste in what's on my clipboard, right click, paste 2.646 something, and then hit OK. Let's run the simulation once again with this plot in view. So and boom. Now it looks like all of our blue dots are right on top of the line or close enough. This one might be a little bit off, but I'm happy with the results right there. Well, that's it for this exercise where we calibrated the hydraulic conductivity of an aquifer in EPA swim using PySWM and Python.